guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is the video that many of you have been waiting for. This video where I talk about all the books that I kind of loved in 2020, and this video will cover the fictional reads I really loved. Now honestly, I've put a lot of thought into this and I had to cancel out a few books because I had to make it a top 10 list. But I did make it a point to put the other books in a special mentions list, and you can see all the timestamps down below. Okay, cool. This is very hard. Okay, I mean, honestly, if I could include a few more books into this, I would have done so, but then these are the top 10 books that have influenced me a lot this year. These are not necessarily these have not been necessarily published in 2020, but these are the reads that I read in 2020, and I would say, read all of them. Don't go by my rating, ranking, or anything. The ranking is only as per my personal choice, but I highly recommend all the books, including the special mentions mentioned in this video. So let's get started with this one. So let's start with top 10 first, of the top 10 list, and I will go in a descending order. So I'll go from 10 to 1, and then I will give you the special mentions. Everything is in the description box below. Just follow that. So let's start with the top 10 fictional reads of 2020 for Jyotsna. Okay, number 10 for me is Homegoing by Ajasi. I read this book at the start of the year, and for me this was this is actually my first read into African history. Before this, I did not have much idea about African history, and this was a good background for me, especially with respect to slavery and Ghana. Homegoing is actually the story of two sisters and how their life kind of traverses through the ages, and you kind of see how the whole generation keeps flowing while one sister has been put into slavery and the other sister has a much more privileged life. Highly recommended if you're looking for a good African read. The 9th book for me is A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. I'm very surprised that many people who are Indians rarely read this book these days. I mean, I know many people who might have heard of it, and I know that this is a part of many Bachelor of Arts curriculum as well that way. But the point is, very few people, I think, on BookTube, Indian BookTube specifically, have read this book, and it's a very influential book. It's set in 1975 during Indira Gandhi's emergency period, and it talks about 4 individuals, 2 who are Dalits from a rural area and 2 who are privileged Parsis from a city which is Bombay. So it's how their lives intertwine and how they are kind of thrust into situations that they cannot get out of, and moreover it is more like a mockery of the whole emergency situation that would intrigue you in order to understand more about Indira Gandhi's emergency period. So that's that. My 8th book is Burnt Sugar or Girl in White Cotton by Avni Doshi. I really appreciated this book a lot. For once, I really felt like I was reading Salman Rushdie's earlier works, and I've said this before, but it gave me a feel of The Moon's Last Sigh, and I read this book quite a while back. So it's good to see a young Indian origin author actually picking up more of a literary genre like that, because these days we have a lot of Indian mediocre authors, and we also have a lot of experimental and contemporary authors from India. But I don't know, somehow for me, Avni Doshi is now that person who kind of revives that kind of 80s 90s literary style of writing, and that's something that stuck with the world for a very long time as well. But as of today, it's moved a lot to contemporary. So it's Avni Doshi's writing is like a blast from the past for me, and I really appreciated this book really a lot. The next one, that is the 7th book, is Bombay Balchao by Jane Borges. I loved this book. Like, so this is when I talk about those contemporary writers. Jane Burgess is a contemporary writer, and she's also a journalist, by the way. Bombay Balchao is a story or a set of stories regarding the Catholic community in Bombay, especially in the Chira Bazaar, Kavil, that area, somewhat. You get my point if you're from Mumbai. So basically in the Girgaon area, and it's a very, very funny, as well as it's like kind of sad at times, and I really loved it. Like, Jane Borges is one of my inspirations when it comes to writing now, and I really, really appreciate her style of writing and her style of storytelling a lot. Uh, read it. I highly recommend it. And honestly, if I were to like conduct a giveaway, I would obviously conduct a giveaway for this book for sure. I have to do it. Okay, fine. The idea is planted in my head. I may do it. The next, that is the sixth favorite book of mine this year, is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. Now again, this is also a piece of experimental contemporary historical writing, like all in that. And again, Bernardine Evaristo is also one of my writing inspirations. Basically, Girl, Woman, Other does not have any punctuation. Okay, it does not follow any rules of grammar that your teacher has taught you, and still it affects you in a very, very beautiful manner, and it went on to win the Booker Prize in 2019 as well. My point is, if you like contemporary and experimental writing, Girl, Woman, Other and Bombay Balchao are amazing picks. And like, this is my new favorite genre. Okay, this is like where I actually base my taste on, because these are the kind of books I want to read more in the future, and these are the books I'll always enjoy no matter what. By the way, I didn't tell you what the book is about, right? So Girl, Woman, Other is about like a set of stories of British women of African origin, and it talks about their story through a lot of things, like it talks about a lot about gender, it talks a lot about racism, it also talks a lot about how it is to be black in the UK, and it's a beautiful book. Like I said, highly recommend it. Now, going on to the fifth book. My fifth favorite book. This is now the top five now. My fifth favorite book is The Poetex by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is actually young adult, but it's written in slam poetry. Okay, it's not poetry, it's slam poetry. So don't buy the physical book and read it. I highly recommend the audiobook, because this book is performative poetry. Is that what you call it? I don't know. So basically, it's slam poetry that you see on the internet, right? The whole book is in a slam poetry format. So it's basically poetry for performance. So unless and until someone's performing for you, you won't get the exact feel of the same. So you have to listen to the audiobook and do not buy the book. Because the other day on Goodreads, I saw one of my Goodreads friends rating it 1 star because she read the book, and I let her know that, dude, don't read the book, listen to the book for the impact of the book, because this is slam poetry and it's not your traditional poetry. So that being said, it's just that this book is, although it's young adult, it kind of affected me in a way, because I have been in Xiomara Batista's place when I was her age, and it's just like hard hitting for me, because it reminds me of the years that I had gone through whatever she had gone through as well. So that's why it hit with me, that's why I liked it a lot, and that's why I highly recommend this one for sure. So let's go to the this is the fourth favorite of this year, and that is The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. This was the first book I completed in 2020, and this is what made me fall in love with Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. Honestly, she's one of my favorite female writers. I know that people do have issues with this book, but I think depicting like what she's done is very good, and her aim is also very good, right? Because being a feminist, I like to see more feminist writings, and this is a piece of feminist fiction where Mahabharata has been written through the eyes of Draupadi. So I really appreciated it. I know people have a lot of criticism for it, and I understand why, but for me it did affect me a lot, and simply because it's a wonderful piece of, I would say, mythological retelling. Yeah, that's the correct phrase. So let's get to the third book, my third favorite book. By the way, I do have all of these books somewhere here, but I'm just too lazy to pick it out. But my third favorite book of this year is Roots by Alex Haley. I've spoken about this book on my channel before, and I actually read this after I read Homegoing because I wanted to know more about African culture. So that's how like my chain flows. I pick up something, I love it, I fall into the rabbit hole, read a couple of more books, and then I get out of it. So the same thing with Homegoing. Like same thing with Homegoing and Roots. So Roots is basically a historical non-fiction written in a historical fiction format, and it basically talks about how Alex Haley is tracing his ancestry, and he finally lands to Kunta, who was kidnapped from Africa and put on a ship and brought towards and brought to the US on a slave ship, and put to work in the field. So basically what Alex Haley also does is he goes through the same situation that Kunta was put in. He actually goes to a cruise ship, he puts himself in the basement of the cruise ship, in the same condition that Kunta was brought to the US, and that's how he travels all the way. And it's a very 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 good book which explains slavery and which explains the history of African Americans in the US. Okay, so I don't know, it's a hard-hitting book. If you are remotely interested in Africa and African history, this is a book you have to read, because one of the most common themes of African history is slavery. So that's that. And let's get to the second book that I really love this year. So they at the top now, kind of at the top. So my second favorite book of the year is Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Cho Nam-joo. Again, this is a feminist book. It talks about Kim Ji-young, who was born in 1982, and her story in the patriarchal society of South Korea. Now, this book kind of transcends a lot of cultures, it transcends a lot of countries, because it's not a work of fiction, okay? The language is simple, it's a novella, it's very approachable, but at the end of it, you are just going to, I don't know what kind of feeling would you face, but if you get a chance to read this book, please do it. The translator as well has done a great job. I think her name is Jamie. I'll put it down here. It's an amazing work of fiction, and it has to be read by everybody in this world, because you need to understand what institutionalized misogyny is. Now, I do know a few people who may not like this book, but I think that those people who do not like this book should reread it to understand what the message is, right? Because the book is a bit diabolical, if I may, because that's how patriarchy or extreme patriarchy generally tends to be. It tends to be more okay, you know what, we don't like women, we like men, and let's prefer men over women. So it can be of those themes, and it can be triggering at times, and that's why people may not like it, but this is the reality. This is the hard-hitting reality of the world we stay in, and I highly recommend it. So that being said, let's get to my top book of this year, and this is one of my top 3 books of all time, and I read it this year. It is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I cannot tell you how much I love this book. I just cannot stop raving about this book. If you want to know more about it, honestly, go check out my video. I made a special video because I could not stop thinking about it after reading it. And by the way, thank you to Leo from A Little Book Life, because I was a part of the group read that he had held, and it was an amazing experience. This book, if you've not read this book, then honestly you've not read a sad book, okay? When people make these videos where they say, oh, this book made me cry, that book made me cry. Like, if this book is not there, if A Little Life is not there, like, once you read A Little Life, you're not going to like any book that will make you cry, you know, honestly. And plus, also, there are a few criticisms regarding this book as well, and I understand that. But then I do have like counter arguments for it. So if you are one of those people who doesn't like this book, argue with me. I'll tell you why the book is awesome. Okay, cool. Now let's get to the special mentions. We're 15 minutes down already, so I just want to get all of the special mentions in. My first special mention is Ghachar Ghochar by Vivek Shanbag. I really love this book, and I also love the way the translator, I think his name was Srinath, again translator name over here. It's a good introduction to Indian literature. Like, if you've never read Indian literature at all, Ghachar Ghochar is a good read. It's a contemporary read with literary tones to it, and I love it. I love Ghachar Ghochar a lot. The next one is Pather Panchali by Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay. This is an Indian modern classic. It's a Bengali classic, and I kind of read this during Durga Puja, during Navratri, if you know. Okay, so basically like during September, October, and it was an appropriate time to read it. It was amazing. I really loved this book, and again, if you are an Indian, or if you are not an Indian, if you want like an introduction to Indian classic, right, to Indian classics, this is an Indian classic. You should pick it up for sure. The next one's The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. I really love books with narratives which always come 360 degrees or a full circle, and I really love this one. So again, I call this experimental, an experimental, narrative, an experimental author in general, and I really appreciate Emily St. John Mandel a lot. The next one is, so I'm just want to put in a few ones from the authors that are already in my top 10 list. So I really loved Forest of Enchantments by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and I also loved Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So two of my favorite women authors. I've loved all their books so far. The other ones, Love and Other Thought Experiments by Sophie Ward. I really love this book a lot, and it's a very beautiful book. Like, it's not a book for everyone, but then if you're someone who thinks about philosophy and physics and want to get it on the same plane, this is a book that you should read. It's a very like thoughtful book, like a thought process type book. Like, you should be like, you should be able to like get that thinking in, if that makes sense. Then I also loved Chosen Spirits, of course. Again, Indian dystopian fiction. If you really love, if you want like introduction to what's happening in India currently, and if you are looking for a dystopian Indian fiction, then Chosen Spirits is your book. And also, like, I just want to mention like a couple more. The first one would be The Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies, the trilogy. I've not read the third book yet, but I really love the first and the second books. Because the first two books were like very good. I really love them a lot, and if you get a chance, do read them. One of them won the Booker Prize in 2009, and the other one won the Booker Prize in 2012. And that being said, I think this is like another one. It's no longer underrated. It was underrated when I read it, and I used to recommend it to everyone, but then Netflix made a series out of it, and I think they did not give the credit to the author, Ian Reid, and it is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Again, this is not something that you can read as a book. You have to read it on audio, okay? Like, there are a few books that are more enjoyable on audio than books in general. I know that Key from Books and Key had made like a video, so do go and check it out, by the way. I like link it up above here so that you can see her work. She's an amazing YouTuber, by the way. But the thing is, I may make a video like that because like she says that like audiobooks are like awesome, and if you have access to audiobooks, you should listen to them no matter what. And if you are one of those people who says audiobooks are like, when you read audiobooks, you're not reading a real book, then you're just like an effing gatekeeper. And sir, you should just stop reading books and not read any book anymore, because apparently when you are like older, you can read, but when you're younger, most of your stories are not read, they are read to you, and that's what the audiobook also does. So I know someone who keeps commenting on people's videos and tells them why audiobooks are bad. You, sir, are a gatekeeper and you should just stop reading altogether and not pick up a book ever again. Okay, thank you. That was my rant. But anyway, this is my favorite favorites of the year, fictional ones. And I hope this video was nice. Thank you so much for watching this video. And have you read any of these? If you have, then let's discuss. If you have not, then that's fine. I hope you pick them up soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.